What's up, Internet? Welcome to Citizen Sleeper 2 Starward Vector. The original Citizen Sleeper is one of my favorite games I think I've ever played. The narrative and the writing is just, I mean, that's most of the game, but it's so excellent. And Citizen Sleeper 2 has been one of my most anticipated games since it was announced. Amazing that it came out in January of this year. Yeah, so this is not a puzzle game. I don't think there's any puzzle element to it, but I was interested in playing this. I actually started the first like 10-15 minutes of this and then was immediately like, this would probably be better just to record. I'm already recording a lot of my favorite games. I might as well record this one. So this is not really puzzle based, but you will be seeing a little bit more of my more adventure game side, I guess. So Citizen Sleeper 2, here we go. I'm excited. Also, just the good thing to note, I'll be probably making these episodes a little bit shorter because they're not so brainy. We'll try to make these more like traditional like small TV episodes, so like 20-25 minutes, somewhere in that range, rather than the 30 pushing 40 minutes. I think that's probably safer for us on these. All right, cool. Let's do it. As I said, I started a game already, but all right, here we go. So we're going to go with normal difficulty. I would be worried about these other difficulties. Cool. And I don't remember what I picked for my first trial run. What do I want to do here? So in this game, you play as a robot and you could pick one of 3 classes. So I'm curious about which one should I pick. Let's see. Just making sure the recording's going. Okay. So, machinist or machinist. Sleepers are built to repair and modify automated systems used in corporate resource extraction. Machinists are very skilled engineers, but their isolated work means they often struggle with tasks requiring a direct approach or social engagement. Their focus skill allows them to focus on a single task and boost their dice to excel in it. Sleepers usually assigned to machinist work are usually diligent, careful, and structured people. It's interesting. That appeals to me a little bit. Operator. Sleepers are built to work with drones and remote machines over local networks to perform corporate resource extraction from a distance. Operators have expertise in working with interfaces and computer systems, but are more physically fragile than other sleepers. Their reboot skill allows them to hack their own systems to re-roll dice, a risky but potentially powerful move. Sleepers assigned to operator work are usually cerebral and precise people. And extractor. Sleepers are built to work at the coal face of corporate resource extraction, often in hard vacuum environments. Extractors have a high level of physical endurance, but their confidence means they struggle with tasks requiring intuition. Their rally skill allows them to motivate those in their team, boosting their crew dice. Sleepers assigned to extractor work are often confident, self-sufficient, and have a high level of endurance. I think I want to go with operator. This sounds most like a character that I would play in any other game, so that's what I'm going to go with. So we're a little bit fragile, but we'll take that. We won't push ourselves if we don't have to. Here we go. In the moment before waking, the dark space before conscious thought, you struggle to find the pieces of yourself. Usually these pieces come with a particular cadence, each appearing sequentially, like the boot process of an old terminal. First, your body, artificial, compromised, but relaying sense data all the same. Then its context, the breeze of air filtration, the soft contact of your birth in 0G. Then, emotion, coming into focus, coming into your body, bringing with it that first instinct, the one that has framed your past 100 cycles, fear. But that familiar sequence does not arrive. Instead, you're unmoored in space, your body distant, your context silent, even your emotions somehow obscured and scattered. Among all that disarray, only one familiar thing arrives, the fear. It is a scrambled, panicked fear, the drowning fear, the falling fear, the fear that makes you reach desperately for any stable point. It is the fear that tells you something is wrong. Something is very wrong with you. Wake up, sleeper. The voice is whispered in your ear, an act that makes you suddenly aware of your head, pulsing in pain, your body rigid with tension. Sleeper. A familiar name, a mind copied, emulated, a body built, implanted, one person sleeping until their debt is worked away, their double being made to work, to be consumed, and eventually to be destroyed, a proxy, an emulation, a sleeper. That is what you are. But you escaped. You remember that now. Broke free of your corporate creators as an ARP in search of a future. You cannot remember the details of your escape, but you know the fear has been with you ever since. All of a sudden, you remember you have eyes, and your eyes flicker open. So we are unknown. Pale eyes in a pale face. Lane. The name comes with its own specific sensation of fear, one you recoil from instinctively. Sorry to interrupt. A sharp smirk. But this ends here. You search your mind for more than a name. Is this how you reward me for my generosity? Lane is leaning over your horizontal floating body, looking down into your eyes. I took you in, protected you, gave you a purpose. Relentless, cruel, and on your trail. You try to look away to the corners of your vision to find something you do not understand, or to find something you understand. Your body does not respond. But I suppose that wasn't enough. He reaches into the pocket of his jacket and retrieves a small vial. This wasn't enough? The vial glitters. This object you know, and you have known for a long time. Stabilizer, the drug that keeps your artificial body, your emulated mind from inevitable decay. The only balm for your planned obsolescence. The liquid rolling in the vial fills you with disgust. If you haven't played the original game, I don't think we're playing as the same character. These are two different sleeper characters. But the first game, we were stuck on one space station, and basically the goal of the game was to try to continue to get that stabilizer, right? So we wanted to consistently keep up so that we didn't break apart and die. Like, it was basically just don't survive. Just survive and don't die. It's like any other hunger mechanic in, like, a Minecraft or, you know, any of those survival games where you have to keep eating. It was the same thing. You had to keep have upkeep on your own body. So they're calling back to that a little bit here by saying the stabilizer kept us up. Lane pockets the vial. But it would have been wasted on you now, after what you've done to this body of yours. He looks at you with a palpable disgust. Lane's eyes scan your body, as they do, and as they do, you become aware of the wires and tubes attached to you, those that were meant to free you from your dependence, from the stabilizer and the control it grants Lane. So he has given us the ability to not have to use stabilizer, but it is giving him power over us. It's leverage. It's blackmail. They are free, you piece of shit. Oh, this is a different person. They're free, you piece of shit. They don't need you anymore. The voice comes from somewhere behind Lane's head. It's a voice you know, but when you search your mind to try to understand why, you find only dizzying darkness. Shut him up. Lane barks the command, and you hear the sounds of impact, of pain from elsewhere in the room. You try to move your limbs again, and this time you feel a flicker, the twitch of a finger. You feel the extension and compression of a synthetic muscle. Free, are you? Lane smirks. You were free when I disabled your tracker, when I gave you the stabilizer you needed. He scans your body with angry eyes. Now, you aren't free. You're just broken. I had such big plans for you, Sleeper. I invested in you. Lane grips your arm hard, and you feel a jolt of reaction. You will the arm to move, but you've ruined all that. Lane speaks louder over the sound of the struggle behind him. I will try to preserve your body, of course, but I have my own uses for it. But your emulation? You feel one of his hands searching behind your head. He finds and grips the thick cable running into the port at the base of your skull. I will burn that out. Lane jerks forward, slamming across your body, then spinning away out of sight. You feel yourself rolling, the cables plugged into you looping and wrapping around your limbs. Then you feel hands steadying you, pulling cables. You glance around wildly and see someone diligently unplugging you. You meet his eyes. Hey! He waves a hand in front of your dazed face. We need to move. Lane won't be out long. He unloops a cable from around your wrist. Sleeper, help me out here. You blink slowly. Do you know this person? He leans over you and you feel his hands on the connector, flicking switches, releasing locks. Come on! Come on! Come on! He tugs the connector clear and pulls you up. Also, I'm conscious of the fact that I'm basically doing an audiobook reading, so I hope this is something that's enjoyable. All right, here we go. You see the room you are in for the first time, filled with tech and terminals, wires waving everywhere, all lit by big windows looking out on an impossibly bright, screen-filled street beyond. In the corner, you see the dark shape of a floating body surrounded by a glittering constellation of crimson baubles. Is that blood? Move! You're wrestled and shoved towards the door, which slides open in front of you, and then you are all out in that brightness, all that movement, gliding hard towards some unknown destination. Ooh. You come to stop in a dark alley, the one who guided you here pausing to catch his breath. He doubles over beside a massive life support unit that sends a lukewarm breeze across your skin. You stare at him, trying to recall anything about him. You notice his tattered jacket, his lightweight clothes. You remember the station runs hot, something about the power that flows through the place. He looks up and meets your eye. What's going on, sleeper? He wipes sweat from his forehead and it floats away in a swarm of spheres. Talk to me. First choice. Somewhere on the docks. Somewhere. I keep doing that. I keep skipping a line with my eyes. Somewhere on the Starward side. Not too far from the docks, I hope. You see a concerned frown across his face. That's not what you meant, is it? He comes closer, eyeing you carefully. What station are we on? He narrows his eyes, waits for the answer. You close your eyes, trying to recall. You force your way through the dark to the image of a station. No, a city, growing on the back of a vast set of hexagonal solar cells, shadowed by them. You open your eyes. Dark side. The word leaves your mouth like an exhale in instinct. Before you heard yourself sound it out, you didn't know it was there. He sighs. And me? Who am I? You see something like fear in his eyes, panic perhaps. You stare hard at his face, the slight upturn of his mouth, the intensity of his stare. Nothing comes. He closes his eyes and drops his head, putting a hand to his temple. The reboot. He's speaking quietly to himself. Lane interrupted the process and... He lifts his head and stares at you. We need to keep going. We need to leave. He turns and kicks off down the alley. Come on, the rig can't be far. Dark side, sprawling urban station. As you're led through the passages and serviceways of the station, you try to recall your life here. The texture, the temperature of Darkside feels familiar, but you struggle to pin specific memories to it. Focusing hard, you recall waking up in these passages cycle after cycle, the rhythms of the station flowing over you along the crowds. You recall desperation, and the slow decay of your body that caused it. Then Lane, those pale eyes, offering you a glittering vial, stabilizer, the promise of supplying you more for your work, a deal he locked you into like a cage. There, your memory fails you, but in the dark beyond that moment, the residue of panic, of fear, remains. You were Lane's prisoner, Lane's plaything. You shudder in the cold passage. Wait. Your guide holds up a hand, and you stop your glide using the wall. Ahead, you see the tunnel opens up into a wide open bay, with a few doors leading to cylindrical tunnels, the docks. They're watching the rig. He nods towards the docks, as you could see one of the doors has a couple of figures flanking it, one covered in ornate tattoos, the other with bright silver implants along their cheekbones. Utsubo, Lane's guys. He looks at you and shakes his head in frustration. All this, it's not coming back to you, is it? Something catches your eye, and you see he's playing with a coin, nervously turning it over and over in his fingers. He sees you looking and slips it away. He places a hand on his chest. I'm Seraphin, all right? He looks pained when he speaks. Lane, he was our captor, both of us. We did this so we could escape. We needed to reboot you, to break your dependence on stabilizer. He pauses. You know what that is, right? You nod meekly. But Lane interrupted me back there. The reboot didn't complete, and... He sighs and shakes his head. We could still make this work. He looks back at the docks. I'll lead them away. You get the docking bridge open. If we can make it to the rig, I know how to get us in. Got that? He searches your face for a sign of recognition. I've got it. Get that door open. He pats you on the shoulder. I know you can do this. Seraphin kicks off hard and glides into the docks. Over here, shitheads! He bellows to the guards as he barrels through. They immediately push off the wall, giving chase. You wait a breath, then glide across to the door they were guarding. You look, already panicked, at the tightly sealed door. Its control panel locked out. You hear a shout from somewhere nearby. You need to get it open. All right. Game. Now game time. During scenes, you may encounter skill checks. Like the dice actions you will encounter later, skill checks can have a positive, neutral, or negative outcome. The better the rating of your skill, the more likely you will succeed on a check. The odds of success are displayed when you select the check. Yada, yada, yada. Okay, so yeah, this game operates mostly on skill checks. So if you're familiar with games like Disco Elysium, or even just playing D&D or something, you know, any other dice-based RPG, it's very similar. So you're going to have the stats that we picked for our character class at the start of the game kind of determine how successful we're going to be at certain types of tasks. So as we found out, any physical-based tasks we're going to be bad at or impossible to do, versus things that were a little bit more interfacey and technological will be better at those tasks. So we should probably aim to do tasks that are more like those. So we have the ability to hack the door or to break the seal. Obviously, we're going to hack the door because that's more like what we're able to do, and we have the chance of a positive or a neutral outcome versus a negative outcome. Obviously, we'll try to avoid a negative outcome as much as we possibly can. Hack the door. Nice. Neutral. Okay. It looks like we rolled a 3 out of a 6 there. You shift to the control panel, trying to understand the readout. The door is on emergency lockdown. Somewhere you hear more shouting. Your fingers hover over the keys. You switch to the administration layer and begin flooding the door operation system with spoof requests, desperately hammering the controls. The control OS crashes and the door judders halfway open before failing. Go, go! Seraphin flies past you through the doorway into the docking tunnel. You turn to see the 2 guards approaching fast across the docks and quickly glide after Seraphin. Seraphin is already at the rig's door, inputting an entry code. The rig's door scissors open and you both rush inside. Quickly! Seraphin grabs you by the arm and drags you up into the cockpit, the ship's layout hazy in your mind. He dumps you in a flight seat and straps himself into his own. You see him tap a series of buttons as he does, talking to himself. Come on! The rig's drive rumbles into life, and Seraphin slams a button on the console. You feel the force of the ship's acceleration as it pulls away. Yeah! We've escaped. Okay. Cool. So we've left Darkside. I wonder if Rob will come back. That's an interesting question. The rig, your refuge in the belt. Ooh, okay, so we have our dice. That's a pretty good roll. So all of our, if you haven't played the original Citizen Sleeper, you don't have to. We'll explain everything here. You're gonna be given a set of dice at the top of the day, and those dice determine how successful you'll be in actions. You can choose to use dice rolls on certain actions. So you have a roll between 1 and 6. 1 and 2 are not great and probably will lead to something at most neutral. And obviously 6 is the best. It's almost guaranteed positive or neutral outcome. As the ship glides into place on the connecting bridge, its automatic system nudged there by the port's docking protocols, you feel a sense of relief. Seraphin burned it hard out of Darkside, and you dropped in and out of consciousness in your seat as the rig made its way across the belt. But now, with open space between you and Lane, you feel fresher, more awake. Seraphin breaks the silence. We're good, Sleeper. His eyes don't leave the monitor, and you realize this part of your escape is routine for him. You and he must have docked the ship countless times in your work for Lane. The problem is, you don't remember any of them. We made it, he whispers, closing his eyes and letting out a sigh. Ooh. He turns, and you see a pained look on his face as if remembering something difficult. Have you said this exact thing to him before in this same situation? He looks at you, chewing one side of his lip, searching your face. Not really, he puffs. Seraphin reaches up, flicking through a set of switches in a practiced fashion, completing the shutdown. You watch, a little frustrated with your own uselessness. Running the rig, you realize, is just another thing you've forgotten. A clunk that runs through the walls of the ship is followed by a short, percussive alarm tone from the pilot's console. Docking complete. Seraphin kicks off from his seat, twisting as he glides past you towards the back of the cockpit. His hands find the rails on either side of the door, and he pauses, facing into the corridor beyond. He turns back to you, backlit in cold cyan. We need a plan. He glances around. Lane's not going to let us slip away quietly. He sighs. We keep running. Seraphin nods. That's what it feels like, right? That we can never get far enough away from that shithead. You see a shiver run through him, and you know that he suffered as much as you did under Lane. We've bought ourselves some time. He glances through the cockpit window at the blinking lights of the station. You may not remember Hexport, but I do, and there are plenty of opportunities here for us, if we can keep our heads down. He turns back to the corridor. That's what we'll do. He pushes off and glides towards the main lock, and you follow, pushing yourself along, hand over hand in 0G. We already emptied the tank on this thing. He slapped a hand against the ship's inside. So, we'll need to refuel, and that won't be cheap. But if you and I know one thing, Sleeper, it's how to work. I'm going to get myself reacquainted, see if I can turn up any old connections, people that might throw us an easy contract. You? He glances back over his shoulder. You keep out of trouble. Low profile. Got it. Seraphin stops at the airlock. Stopping the reboot halfway through, he pulls a worn crew jacket from a locker and starts pulling it on. We don't know what that did to you. He jams an arm into his sleeve. I don't want you passing out and... He stops. It'll take both of us. Seraphin sighs. I hate it when you're right. He grabs another crew jacket and thrusts it at you. Just put the damn hood up, will you? You take it and slip it on. Thank you. Seraphin nods. He stabs at the button to open the lock. The inner door hisses open, and Seraphin glides through. Wait for a little bit, then leave. Anyone looking for us will be looking for two people traveling together. He looks at you in your worn crew jacket, a limited disguise for what is clearly a sleeper. We meet back here later. Any trouble? Same thing. Meet here. He surveys your disguise again and shakes his head. This is a shitty idea. He gives you one last look. Maybe find yourself something to eat? Suddenly, you recognize Seraphin's instinct to look after you, a flash of a relationship now lost to the reboot. Catch. Seraphin throws a handful of something towards you. You manage to grab the projectiles, and when you open your hand, you see a stack of cryo chits. That's money. Those should get you some food. We need some more for food, fuel, and supplies. He grimaces. That means odd jobs on the station for both of us. Seraphin kicks off and glides down the docking bridge. Don't go too far, all right? He shouts as he leaves. Take it slow. And with that, he's gone, leaving the connecting bridge and heading into Hexport's docking concourse. You wait for a moment in silence. Make a plan. You try to think ahead to what might be coming. You'll need work, and that's the first step, but what then? Lane will be coming eventually. The sooner you can put some distance between you and Hexport, the better. So that's the plan. Rest, resupply, and run. You shake the thoughts from your head and pull the jacket tight. Let's see what Hexport has to offer. You kick off and glide into port. Yeah, nice. Okay, cool. How long is this episode so far? Yeah, so we're getting to the 20-minute mark. I think I'm actually just going to cut it off here for a second. Again, I want to keep these episodes short, so we'll do our first, actual day on the next episode. I hope you guys are going to enjoy this playthrough. Again, it's something a little different, but I wanna branch out a little bit, or at least just always be showing off a cool indie game. Citizen Sleeper 1 actually got a decent amount of attention when it came out, but not enough. These games never get enough attention. The games that truly matter and mean something to me, I feel like they always deserve a little bit more. So even if it's a couple extra views, I'm glad to give it the platform. So I'm really excited. This is a little bit of a different type of playthrough too, just in terms of how I'm going to be interacting with the game. So I'm excited to see what we do. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you stick with this playthrough. Please subscribe if you want to and see future episodes, and we'll see you in the next episode.